Hi, my name is Jon Gibson, and I've been invited to talk to you about two works by Johann Sebastian Bach that have been featured recently in the Stanton Music Festival in their performances. The works happen to date from the same year, 1727, and they are Bach's monumental St. Matthew Passion and his secular cantata known as the Trauerode, or Mourning Ode. Bach wrote the Trauerode as a funeral cantata for the Queen of Poland, who was also the Electress of Saxony, which is the region in Germany that contains the city of Leipzig, where Bach was working at the time. Now, there are many common threads between these two works, but one of them involves the fact that they both include beautiful music for this instrument, the Viola da Gamba. Now, for Bach to use this instrument was a little bit of an odd choice. He used it a handful of times in his career, but it was a little bit of an odd choice because the instrument had faded quite a bit in popularity by his time. In the Trauerode, Bach uses a pair of gambas, and here they are in the fifth movement. Now, one of the things I love most about the Viola da Gamba is sometimes seen by other people as a flaw in the instrument, and that is that when the instrument is pushed to its limits, its tone can verge on being a little bit grainy, or some people say raspy. Again, some people think of this as a bad thing. I don't. I think that tone can be very evocative in the right settings. And one really good example of that is the gamba part that Bach included in a later revision to his St. Matthew Passion in an aria called Komm, süsses Kreuz, or Come, Sweet Cross. Now, when we hear this aria, we're at the point in the Passion story where Simon of Cyrene has been forced to carry Jesus' cross. And the singer's text speaks of the heaviness of that cross and the heaviness of the suffering being endured. Now, the gamba part in what you just heard was being played very well, so it might not be obvious, but it's a very difficult part. And anyone who plays it definitely feels a burden, a weight of struggling with the part. But I've always thought that the meaning is actually meant to be taken a little further than that. The sounds on which the aria make us focus, the sounds of gut strings stretched across a wooden frame, can also help us focus on the materials that are central to the Passion story, the wooden cross and the body that will soon be stretched across it. By showcasing the Viola da Gamba so prominently in this kind of setting, Bach was probably alluding to a type of piece known as the Tombeaux. Now, the word simply means tomb in French, but as a musical genre, the Tombeaux was a kind of instrumental elegy, almost always written for viola da gamba or lute or harpsichord. And composers wrote these in memory of someone who had died. But one really interesting thing about that genre, about tombeaux, is that tombeaux were usually thought of in highly symbolic terms. So growing up in the 17th century and in the early 18th century, Bach would have been well aware that the tombeau came with this kind of symbolic baggage. Now, as I said before, the funeral cantata that we were talking about, we usually simply call the Trauerode. But what did Bach call it? On the header of his first page of the score, Bach wrote in French, Tombeaux of Her Majesty the Queen of Poland. So this makes it clear to me that Bach was thinking of the Tombeaux genre when he was writing these two works in 1727. So, when you revisit the Stanton Music Festival performances of these works and others, I hope you'll take special notice of specific instruments in the Viola da Gamba in particular, because to me, when we focus on how and why Bach uses a particular instrument, it can make listening to any of his music a much, much richer experience.